Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to Coffee with Key with Scotty, Johnny, and me, and we've got a special guest. Scott, why don't you introduce our special guest this morning?
This morning we have the infamous David Silkin with DSG Distribution, but David's been in the industry for several years. Myself and David go way back, not to put any dates on anything. But David is one of our distributors, but like we said, we've been mixing it up on the Coffee with Key, and we wanted to bring David on, see how he was doing and what was kind of going on his end of things. So
morning, guys.
Welcome.
Good morning. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you for having me. It's good to see you all.
Good seeing you. Good seeing you.
Even though it's virtually.
Yes.
Well, do you have a cup of coffee with you, Dave?
I've already had a double espresso. I'm afraid to have another one.
Well, then, you're an espresso guy. Now we're talking my language. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
How do you do it? You got a machine at home or?
I got one of those little, I used to do it on the little pot, the little octagon pot that you put it right on the burner, and it took so long. And then one day I was walking through a store and I found this little Nespresso machine.
Oh, yeah.
This makes it so easy. Oh my God. It's in like a minute.
There's nothing better than an espresso. As far as machine coffee go, the pod type things, those are the best.
Yeah, it does a good job. It doesn't take up much room, so that's my go in the morning.
Yeah, it's a crack in a pod. I don't get that. That Nespresso stuff is good though.
It is.
It's really fantastic. Yeah. So you do a double meaning 2 pods, or how do you do a double?
2 pods, yeah.
Because I know you could adjust the strength on those machines as well. You can.
No, I have it cranked up to 10.
This one goes to 11. Wow.
Get that reference? Just log off right now, because that's a must in our industry. So great Spinal Tap. Shout out.
Oh man, one of my.
I see you guys doing a lot of this social media stuff. How's it going for you? Are you being able to reach out and get some new followers and talk about new products and stuff?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, it's so funny. I just got a brand new dealer that actually found us through Coffee with Key, and he did we actually shipped out his AV over IP system yesterday.
Nice.
So it's been really good, and everybody's kind of gotten used to this virtual world that we've been living in, because we're all locked in our pods here. And, so it's, as we were talking offline before we came on, business was, right at the beginning of the spring when everything locked down, it was kind of scary, but everybody's kind of shifted and gotten used to doing all these virtual meetings and social media, and so it's been really good. So, and I understand you do quite a bit of that too, Dave. So
we're doing a little bit less now because we're really busy. And it does take up some. In the beginning, when the COVID thing just hit, we were on every day, sometimes several times a day with different vendors.
Wow.
It kind of made you feel good because you're still in touch with, even though you were on lockdown. You were still in touch with your team, your squad, your guys.
Exactly.
It kept us going. This whole thing for me really has been very strange because we were deemed essential, and mostly of course we do network, because we do a lot of security stuff. And my wife works for the post office, so she was on.
Well, I bet she's got a lot going on right now.
Yeah, 10 days on, 1 day off, for 3 months.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
And my son works for me, and my daughter was working, and she was an essential worker. So we kind of felt like outside of the bubble, we were friends and like, I haven't been out of the house, I to see my friend, and, his beard's down to here, and he hasn't bathed in a week, and he's like, looks like a grizzly bear. 15 pounds, and he's like, dude, you look normal. I'm like, because I'm living kind of a fairly normal life, with the exception that there's no traffic on the expressway, and I really can't find a good piece of pizza. We're all good.
It's kind of like I am legend when you get out there, right?
Yeah, right. And it was weird because I'm so used to getting in the car, and I live in between both of our facilities, the Southampton facility and the Plainview facility. I'm like smack in the middle. So either way, I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to sit for 45 minutes to an hour in normal times. I was getting 15, 17 minutes. I'm like, well, this isn't so bad.
Wow.
Except for the fact that nobody could come visit us in the office. We were just shipping stuff out and doing the virtual thing. Long Island came back really quickly and pretty strong, and we don't see a lot of it now. So we're kind of back to fairly normal lives, with the exception of there's a lot of places that we used to go that went out of business, which is very sad.
Yeah, that's sad.
And signs. The movie theaters are pretty much shut down. Now some of them are 25%, but we had a lot of AMG theaters that are not opening up out here. And that's caused a real fire starter in our theater business.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing we saw a tremendous amount of increase in the demand for personal theaters, private theaters, multi-room entertainment centers. Where in the beginning it was network, especially out in the Hamptons. I told you guys before we got on, we were just trucking Luxol product out there every day to the Hamptons. We couldn't get it fast enough because everybody who had two homes was moving out there, getting out of the city and setting up their home office. Then it was, I need rock speakers. I need something to do outside in my backyard because we could stay out there and we could listen and maybe get a little TV out there and build a little, outdoor space because I can't stay in my house anymore. But so, then the outdoor, we started getting pallets of rock speakers and outdoor speakers and stuff like that. And then just like that, it went to boom, theaters. So I was telling Scott, we're the smallest, the biggest small company, I think in the industry, but so because we do a lot of things, but we can change on a dime where, a national or, an international company, when they make a change, it's like they got to, send out 45 memos and have 25 meetings. And it's, just me, Greg, and Matt going, hey, let's do this today. Okay, we're on, we're going. Or a customer calls and says, I need this. And we go, okay, we can do that. So for us, it's been pretty fluid to go from the network to the outdoor to the movie theaters and stuff like that. And, 3 years ago, I woke up one morning and said, I'm going to build a theater. And there was a spot across the street from our Plainview location, and it was about 2,500 square feet, and it was reasonable. And I'm friendly with the landlord because we've been there for a while. And I said, Kevin, I want that spot. And he goes, okay. He goes, what are you going to do with it? I said, well, I'm going to build a movie theater in there. Crazy. And then I talked to my partners and they're like, well, what are you, crazy? And I'm like, no, I want to be able to have our dealers come in and bring their customers and sit and watch a movie and really get the experience because we have some phenomenal product. But how do you really explain that? You can put it on paper, you can talk about specs and show them pretty pictures, but unless they're actually sitting in there and watching something and hearing things fly around the room and, listening to all the acoustics and stuff and what it does, you can't really get that experience. And it took a little while for it to catch on. And then, guys started bringing their customers and they're realizing like, wow, this is like pretty cool because every time I bring a customer in here, I walk out with a job.
Exactly.
And over the last few months, that room's been booked like several times a day. And, we're starting to really crank out some substantial theaters now. And it's a lot of fun. That is my absolute favorite part of this business. If I can sit there, play little clips for people and explain what's going on and do demos, I would do that 7 days a week, 18 hours a day. I'd be very happy.
Yeah, I always looked at it too as more and more people either being captive in a house is like two things I want to hit on. You mentioned it's hard for someone to justify like for us selling an AV over IP system, right? The issue with that AV over IP system is it's a bunch of black boxes. We know the value of it, but when the customer is seeing an overall bill, and it's like, oh my God, here's $30,000 worth of black boxes. What do these do? I mean, we know, but the customer doesn't know.
Yeah.
So
But
having that ability, seeing that room, and I think Jonathan would agree, everyone would agree, if we took our whole family out and bought a movie ticket, we could go to the movies, and then you got snacks, you got this, you got that. If somebody looked at it, the bigger aspect of it, it could be like a monthly payment if you went to the
Yeah.
movie a couple times a month.
Yeah, you
Or
could buy
something
several
safe.
movie theaters over the course of the 20 years that you're going to do that. Sure.
Yeah. And
yeah,
you can sit in your
and
boxers or whatever, you can be more comfortable in your house.
there's no better selling tool than the demo, and to be able to have a finished demo, not just one you just set up temporarily, so they can see it, hear it, and feel it. In a home theater, you want to feel that vibration of the low end and etc. So that's amazing. I when we get unlocked, I'm coming up.
One thing that Mike always listens in, Dave, when we go through and do these, or if he's not joining us. So one thing that he mentioned in one of the comments here is, how are some of the guys relaying to you? Mike's question was, Dave, he's like, how are the installers dealing with working inside homes safely?
Well, everybody is, bringing their PPE with them. I have a lot of, in the beginning, we were helping guys get masks and get sanitizers and stuff like that. I have some pretty close friends that we work with, and a lot of guys didn't even just want to do that in the beginning.
Yeah.
But, everybody's got to eat, so they figured it out. Everybody's wearing their masks, and now we're we've partnered up with a team called Air Essentials, and we're selling those Ghostbuster looking foggers.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We have the antiseptic. It's a food grade and a medical grade, FDA approved antiseptic that cleans. So we have this fogger gun, and you go in, and it takes just a couple of seconds, and you spray up and down, up and down, and up and down, and you can fog the place. And you can do it either when you get there or when you leave. Before that, we would just Clorox wipes and whatever we could find, Berkeley and Jensen wipes or whatever the wipe of the day was. Everybody was just scurrying, and and it was funny because guys would like kind of trade no stuff, like, hey, I got paper towels, what do you got? I got toilet paper. It was like a Facebook trade account. Everybody's going on to go, who needs what? Now that stuff is getting a little easier to find. So there's a lot of guys who are now adding that as a line item because it is, it's a cost.
There's a cost to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just raising their labor prices a little bit, because you should, just like the restaurants have raised their prices,
Oh, yeah.
and everybody else has. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, prices have to go up a little bit because somebody's got to pay for that stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's funny that gun that you're talking about. My wife just did a painting project, and we were in the Sherwin-Williams. I don't know if they have Sherwin-Williams up north, but anyway, paint store, and they had this gun out there on the cabinet, on the counter, and I'm like, what is that used for? And they're like, oh, we're selling those like crazy to schools and everything else. He said they just in seconds you spray a whole room and you're done.
Yeah, like I spray the theater several times a day because I have people sitting in there and kind of hanging out. And people are cool about it, They come in and they have their masks on and everything, and then like, all right, I'm going to leave you here by yourselves. You want to watch a movie for a little while. You can take your mask off if it's just you guys, if you're comfortable, whatever. And then you come back on, just put them back on, and then I'll go in there, do the
Hey,
ghost.
Dwayne.
Yes, sir.
So we just got indoor plumbing here in the north. So
Well, I didn't know if the brand itself was I didn't know if that was a southern brand or a northern brand.
I'm teasing. But one thing, like you were saying with PPE stuff, one thing that Mike did is once all this started hitting more and more is Steve, who is our amazing warehouse manager that takes care of, like, I'm amazed at what he could do in a day. But Mike went out, started buying masks, and just started putting them in every order, So no matter who was getting it, somebody would open up a box. So that way it's like, hey, I got my extenders. I need to run to a job. Oh, I didn't forget the mask. The box is in the car.
Yeah, that's
the
really
masks are in the
good idea.
box,
Yeah, we've gotten a couple from you guys. Yeah, it was nice. And I've had a couple of other vendors who they just sent them, I'm thinking of you guys and just doing the mass. And it's a nice little touch, and I still get out of my car and I have to walk, halfway and then walk back and go, damn, I forgot my mask again.
It's the new wallet phone keys check.
But I'll tell you, we were I do a bunch of charity work with two different charities. It's called Heroes for Our Heroes. And we basically started on 9/11 just bringing heroes to all the first responders, and just as kind of like a thank you, to those guys, and make sure they knew we weren't forgotten. And it was started by a friend of ours who was actually at 9/11 with a food truck serving food, at his own expense, just to keep those guys going. And he had the idea, and then, a couple of friends of ours got together, and we helped this guy Donato, who's pretty amazing. We help him, and we raise money throughout the year. And like this year, every year we always bring turkeys to the VA.
Wow, cool.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and this year we have to do like a drive-through. You can't actually go into the VA, so we're gonna, a couple of us, and they're only letting a few of us go. So we're gonna grab all the turkeys, and hopefully the vets will have some people drive them through, and we'll throw them in the trunks. I also do some stuff with a company called Angels of Long Island, who helps families in need and stuff, and people who are homeless or need a little extra help. And we did a Halloween trunk or treat, and all the volunteers kind of took their trunks of their cars and made a little Halloween scene, and we loaded them with candy. And we had the masks on for we only planned on being there for 3 hours, but over 500 kids showed up, so we were there for a while. We had the masks on the whole time because we're reaching, we didn't want to get anybody sick, and it kind of disappeared, for a while there, and I forgot I had it on, and I got in the car and I started driving home. I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. I'm in there by myself and I got the mask on. It's funny. You adapt to survive, and I think these people are brilliant, who figure out these trunk or treat stuff, or they figure out how to get this stuff. Because at the end of the day, people still need help, and at the end of the day, people still have to work. We still have to do our jobs. So instead of fighting it and carrying on, I see a lot of people, I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to wear a mask either, but I also don't want to get sick. So I put the damn thing on,
Absolutely.
I gotta remember when I get out of the car to keep it in my hand, because I'm running in and out of the car all day, and I'm like double tracking every time. I get out of the car, I'm walking to the back, I'm like, go back in, and then I was at a lunch meeting yesterday, and we're sitting at the chair, and I have to go to the bathroom, and one of my friends goes, turn around, get the mask, because on the seat, because over here, you can go to a restaurant, you have to put your mask on. And you sit down, you take your mask off. And if you have to go to the restroom, you have to put your mask on. And you take your mask off. If you want to go to the, another place, you have to put. So you just get used to it after a while.
It's
and my wife's always asking me, she goes, how come all your masks are folded up? I said, because they fit in my pocket.
Yeah, that's the same thing. They'll crease.
Well,
and for a while, I was buying all those crazy printed masks and stuff. But really, the best ones are those blue and white, little.
Mesh paper mask.
Accordion looking things.
Like you said, David, it's like you park, you're running up to the store and then you forget it. Like, for me, I kid around. That's like going to Chick-fil-A on a Sunday. You're walking all the way up.
Yeah, right.
It's like, I forgot my mask. I got to run back, But one thing that you mentioned before was pricing. And we've had several meetings between the engineers, Mike and everybody else, and sitting down. And one thing that Mike was trying to avoid, it was tough on everybody. So what we wanted to try to not do was increase the prices when it was so difficult for everybody getting jobs. So, between tariffs, this, that, all this stuff going on, it was like, hey, we can't hit everyone when it's down and out, because I'm sure dealers that come into you that were a 12-man team are now a 2-man team.
Right.
So I think we're all old enough. Like, we've learned how to adapt. Like you mentioned, 9/11. like we've all here in this group have seen so much, and it's either you've got to be able to shift on the fly, change, and make things happen. And most of my conversations, even still now, in the beginning when it hit, and Dwayne can vouch for this too, we were just doing check-in, hey, how are you? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was like, and just hearing like, good news or bad news. And these guys are like, devastated, hey, I had 20 guys working for me. What do I do now? I've got no work or I can't get in there. It is depressing, but we're all adapting.
Yeah, and to tag on to Scott's talk about pricing, we have not raised our prices, and that's very important too, because a lot of these jobs went on hold that were coming down the pike, but now they're starting to come around. Well, they've already bid those out a year ago, and now they come back. And if we were to come back to, well, now we've had a 20% price increase, that would be like, well, now we got to start the whole process over again. So we've been, we've struggled through it. Things are much better than they were, and we're looking for a really prosperous future for us all. And but we have not, just for the record, we have not raised our prices on any of our products.
Yeah, that's great. And I would say that the majority of our vendors have held off.
Yeah.
Even though they're getting price increases, and it's a smart move. I mean, you try not to bombard everybody all at once, and it's hard, but like my guys who are out there, their costs have increased because of the PPE.
Right.
So maybe it's just $5 an hour that they have to raise it, but they definitely have to do a little something on it. And you have to invest in it. You have to know where you are, because there's different rules wherever you are. You have to know the rules, and the rules change, especially in New York. I mean, we have some very colorful people running our cities and states here and counties. So, they wake up in the morning, I think sometimes, and go, let me see what we can do to these people today. And so, you got to stay on top of it. And I think everybody in general has done a really good job of that.
It's like a game of craps. They roll the dice and say, hey, what's going to happen today?
I was reading this morning, CES put a little something on LinkedIn about CES 2020, and my eyes kind of just rolled in the back of my head, and there was an article that I saw. Colleen Lee from Marketing Matters, who's a good friend of ours, we all know, had commented on about should shows stay virtual, and I just I can't scream hell no loud enough.
Exactly.
I mean, I know everybody wants it to work, but how are you going to show somebody? How are you going to demonstrate to somebody what something sounds like? Or really what a picture looks like, or what an effect of a better HDMI cable has on something, or a better switcher, if you can't do it in person. Our industry especially, and our industry is also a very social industry.
Big time.
I mean, one of the most important parts of our shows is the networking aspect and the after hours aspect, which we all look forward to with great eagerness. And we all take pride in, our after hours events at those shows. And I really, really, really hope that we don't have to keep it virtual.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it being so social. I mean, it's like you're running into those people that maybe that are on the West Coast that you don't see all the time. That buddy that works for so and so, and that's what it is. And that, like, even with this and social media and web broadcasts, at least we're interacting and we're talking, and other people can watch us do this or join us, etc. I mean, that's what it is. It's like I had met with a dealer and I was sat in the parking lot with a camping chair, just to be able to talk. And the person, that particular dealer was so grateful. They're like, oh my God, the interaction, just talking to people on the phone, it's no 10-minute phone call now. People just like to, you know.
And the virtual works great, especially with, existing, but to make new relationships, it's really hard to do that virtually. And, to just go hang out after the show or, like I said, and I know I've got a relative that lives in Las Vegas and she's a school teacher. And she sent me a text the other day that Vegas, of course, this is decimated Vegas, because they are all about it.
Yeah.
And she said they're even trying to open up for 50% capacity on conventions. But the problem is the teachers union doesn't, want the teachers back in the classrooms. And so if the teachers can't come in, their husbands or wives that work in the convention industry have to stay, home with the kids because the kids are at home, and so they can't go work the convention. So it's kind of a catch-22. It's hopefully we'll be, hopefully a vaccine will come soon, and we'll put 2020 behind us, and our vision will be clearer in 2021 than it was in 2020.
True.
I just, I hope and pray that this gets resolved quickly because I miss you guys.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's one thing I just want to touch on real quick that you mentioned, and we've been all kind of running back and forth in our head and having different meetings, like without going into a huge discussion, because this could be a 4-hour long conversation, is what is your opinion on the whole 8K realm? So now we have our 4K, we're going to our 8K, then we have our 10K, so obviously we need to be able to create products that can support this. So one of the things that we're working on now is our 8K cables, and being able to market that, have an actual cable that could pass 8K. Like, what is your thoughts on this? Like, what are you getting back from some of your dealers, or even, like your theater has got to be 4K, right?
Yes, my theater is 4K. We have, we could do Dolby Vision. We could do HDR10. To me, I'm 57 years old. I've been wearing glasses my whole life. I can barely see. Everything's great. It looks awesome. 8K, is it going to be content? I mean, we're still waiting for a really good 4K content.
Yeah.
We're always ahead of the game. I know we have to do this because we have to sell stuff. I hope that they really get the standards straight before they fully launch all this stuff, because even with 4K, it's like, it's 4K, but it's not 4K. It's real 4K. It not converts 4K. It's native 4K. Come on, man.
Yeah.
The Joe Biden thing. Come on, man. I want to sell 8K, but I want to sell real 8K. I just don't want somebody to say, okay, it's 8K, and you're plugging in 1080p cable boxes in the TVs. I'm converting it, and you're going, oh, you got 8K.
Well, it's like we were talking about yesterday, Scott. You had a client that you had to explain that, well, yeah, there's 3 HDMIs on that 4K display, but only one of them is really a 4K HDMI. The other 2 are just, 1080p.
We were going back and forth, David, and I thought this was too funny. And even the person didn't understand it. Is most displays that are out there, you'll have multiple HDMIs on there, and if you look closely, there'll be one particular 4K 60 hertz true input.
Right? It's on just about everything we use.
Yeah. So then you'll have your other, HDMI 2, 3, multiples on there. And it was like, wait a minute, why does the picture look different between these two? But it's the same source. They're like, is this a bad cable? Is it this? Is that? But they had not a clue or an idea. I'm like, no, that top one, that's the one you want to use. Use a switcher or something on the outboard. But that 60 hertz one, that's the true.
Well, what you just
winner.
said there about using a switcher is something that I started preaching a long time ago. I kind of went away from it as preamps got a little bit better. But I'm putting my foot down, and I'm going back to that. I really don't like switching video through AVR receivers or even high-end preamps. you know, get a good switcher. You know, get a switcher with HDMI pass-through. Send one thing to your audio, send the other thing to your display. Put all your sources through that switcher. It will save you so many headaches. And you know,
that is the key to
yeah,
your digital video.
it really is. It really is. Put that switcher on top of it. I don't care what preamp you're using. I don't care if it's $500 or $50,000. Apple TV is gonna push an update, and your video is gonna go out, and your company's gonna call you, and they're gonna be pissed, and you're gonna be pissed, and nobody's gonna know what happened, and it's gonna take you hours to figure it out. And if you had the switcher, it probably would have just been silent, and you would have never known.
That's exactly why we built our fixers from the get-go. Was we were selling so many splitters 1x2 to fix issues with when video was going through the AV receivers, and a lot of it was just weak signal. You know, like it would work with a 12-foot cable, but then you'd go to a 20-foot cable and it wouldn't work. And you know, you'd throw our splitter downline and it would work. Well, then we started selling the 1 in, 1 out, like booster type solution for that. And yeah, the new technology has created new needs for these kind of fixers and everything. And again, we're almost back there, right back where we were, you know, 10 years ago.
Yeah, you kind of scratch your head and go, what happened? We know our mistakes sometimes.
So, Dave, one of the things that, you know, that has one of the other industries that's really suffered, and we've seen various organizations come about to try to help this industry, is live music. I know a lot of friends of mine in New York City area are involved in a thing called Save Our Stages. I believe you're also involved in some of these organizations. You want to say a few words on those?
Yes, I'm actually working on a couple of projects right now with a company called My Jam Entertainment, who has a music and video platform. It's international. I believe you can find it on Apple TV and Roku and Fire Stick, and I think even DirecTV. And we're just going to be providing some content for them. And one of the things that we're doing is it's hard enough if you're a cover band, but you can still kind of get a little gig here and there playing a parking lot. But bands who play original music are really, really having a hard time getting their stuff out. So what we're going to do is we're going to provide a platform for these guys. We're going to do a monthly battle of the bands where bands who have their own music can send us a 12-minute video. We're going to put them up every month, and then all their friends and family and fans can vote on it. And we'll do this once a month. And then at the end of the year, we've worked it out that the band who wins is going to get a recording contract with a record label that we're working with. And so we're going to help them get exposure. And through My Jam Entertainment, they get hundreds and millions of viewers all around the world. So if it helps a couple of bands and, it's just a nice thing to do, to play. We're going to have some live soundstage stuff, although definitely socially distanced, where it's just like the band and a few people, where they can come in and film the video, or if they send us videos. And we're also doing something for the same thing for Latin music community, which I really love Latin music, and I'm working with a company called El Fuego Latina, and that's going to be the platform for the Latin music. And it's a lot of Latin DJs and Latin original music bands, and they're going to do music and news and community issues and stuff like that. Actually, a good friend of mine, Catherine Trent, is going to be hosting it, and that should be a lot of fun too. And a lot of it we're going to be filming in our showroom, because we have that big 9-foot tall, 15-foot wide video wall. Wow. So we're going to be doing a lot of the filming in front of the video wall and a couple of sound stages and studios that I'm involved in. So, I always needed an extra night job. But you know, we'll rust when we're dead, they say. Right? So, you know, it's really exciting because, you know, growing up in New York as a musician, you know, I was so spoiled because you could pretty much play as many nights a week as you wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, in the 70s and 80s and even the early 90s, there was so many live venues. There was times where we worked 7 days a week, you know, and we were doing 5 sets a night. And there's no better way to, you know, hone in your skills than just playing every night, you know,
Yep.
5 hours a night. And, you know, you become like a machine. And I feel bad because now there's nowhere for these guys to play. I mean, I literally did a gig in a parking lot a couple of weeks ago. And we just did it because we wanted to. You know, my friend owns a cigar store. As you guys know, I like cigars. We'll hang out there. So on a Sunday, we all decided, you know, that we were going to just show up, set up a PA system, socially distance, and play in the parking lot. You know, and it was fun. We played for a couple of hours, and cars drove by, and everybody waved, and people were bringing chairs. You know, it kind of felt a little bit normal. We'd probably do it again if it wasn't so nasty and cold out there. But you know, for the most part, there's nothing for musicians to do. You know, musicians who are writing original music, there's no venues for them. You know, cover bands are doing now. You can go see a band. You have to make a reservation. You have to sit at a table. You have to eat dinner. It's limited to, I think, 8 people at a table, and you know, maybe 50 people in that room. You know, so the drinks get a lot more expensive, and the food gets a lot more expensive because they got to cover the cost of the band. And we don't really care. We actually been going, and I saw a great Journey Foreigner cover band. I saw a Creedence Clearwater Revival cover band that was good. There was a good Leonard Skinner band that was playing the other night. You know, these are all good, but if you're writing original music, you know, it's kind of hard to get people to pay, you know, $100 a couple to go sit and listen to music that they don't know. So that's why the bands thing.
Like, that's something that like dwelled in the back of my head, but like you enlightening and bring more light to it. So me being in Jersey and not being too far away from Asbury Park, like the iconic Stone Pony, I mean, like, what's going to happen to some of these iconic places if they can't get people in? You know what I mean? Unless you got a whole bunch of bank behind you, this is going to affect some like major, you know, locations because
it's real hard. We have this great little mini concert venue out in Patchogue, Long Island called 89 North. And it's owned by a guy named Dan Welsh, who was been a dealer of mine for years. I know Dan for 25 years. Dan's also a musician, and he owns a studio. So he built this 89 North. He put a tremendous sound system in there, great stage, great lighting. And up until COVID, the place was packed 4 or 5 nights a week, you know, and now they're kind of just using it to do a couple of virtual things once in a while. And I ran into Dan out in Southampton and I said, "Dude, what you gonna do?" And he said, "I don't know. You know, I just don't know. It's expensive, you know. I mean, you know, big building, you know, real estate's expensive, help's expensive, insurance is very expensive. You know, to keep all that going when you're not bringing in any revenue is real tough. And I really hope that, you know, we could figure it out because, you know, that's one of my favorite venues. You know, it's a great place for bands to play. You know, when you play at that place, you really feel like a rock star because it sounds so good. The PA system's so good. The lights are so good. You know, you get that whole experience. And, you know, it's, for some guys, that's an experience of a lifetime. And so hope we can figure it out.
I'll hope that. I mean, and part of it is neat for other people that don't know you and what your involvement in is. This is what I like about some of these broadcasts, even though it's not always focused about product and what we're doing, of how many things you do behind the scenes, giving back to the community, what your downtime is, what your hobbies are, but they all kind of revolve around audio videos. It's like,
yeah, you know, it always comes back to that. You know, even the people that are not in, even the things that I do that are not AV revolved, I met through the audio video business.
Absolutely. Well, I just saw a comment from from Mike. So you should be honored, Dave. Mike just offered for you to join the KeyDigital band. And I think Mike, Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Mike a bass player?
Mike is a bass player too.
Yeah.
We've talked about
So
playing
that
bass.
would that's pretty self-effacing there to offer his spot up to you, at least on a song or two.
Well, I would definitely take you up on that, Mike. Mike and I have, I've spent a lot of time with Mike. We've had some amazing dinners after CES and seen a couple of bands ourselves and just sit and talk about music and playing bass. Mike's a fun character. You know, I have a very long history with KeyD, which you guys may or may not know about. And it started with a conversation with Mike Lachter, who I met, who was selling real estate at the time, and his father-in-law, who was making these little black boxes, and they were trying to figure out, how to get them to market. And I was working for a small rep and distribution company at the time, and we became pretty friendly, and we started selling some of the stuff. And then I went to a company called Key Distribution, which became Avid. And I said to you guys got to meet these two Mikes, these two Michaels. They got this amazing stuff. And, we took some KeyDigital stuff in. And that was kind of really like the launch point, right? I mean, that's really where, KeyDigital became like a really, really important part of our business. And so it was, it was Key Distribution and KeyDigital, and we were selling a ton of stuff. And I think at the time, there was no HDMI. A lot of it was component video and composite video. And there were scalers named after Mike's grandchildren. Everything had a name of a grandchild or a relative. And, it's so great to see the whole evolution of what you guys have done. And I'm really happy, that you guys are still around, and that we're all still friends and we're all still doing business, because, the whole legacy part is so important, and the loyalty part is important. And, it's great to do stuff with people you like, and we've always had a fun time with you guys. You guys work hard, you party like rock stars. We share that in common, and you love what you do, and we love what we do, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, Mike even named that whole series after me, that Fat Boy series that we had.
Yeah, I still have some of those cables around. They were good. You could tow a car with those things. They were so strong.
Oh, wow.
Oh, well, hey, Dave, it's been great chatting with you and hanging out, and look forward to seeing you soon in person on a convention floor stage, or at a restaurant afterwards, or at a club, and just deepen the relationship. So I'm glad.
Next time you come on over and we'll watch a movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's good to see you guys. Scotty, thanks for the invite. I appreciate it. And Jonathan, always a pleasure to see you as well.
Likewise, Dave. Thanks for joining us.
We got to get you in with the CE Pro band next time we do a gig.
I could do drums. I could do bass. You don't want to have me on guitar, but if you guys maybe do some punk rock covers, I probably got those down.
That sounds like fun. Yeah, we got to get together and we got to play. It was great meeting you. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'm sure we'll be talking real soon.
Thanks, Dave.
Again, Dave, for jumping in with us.
Thank you all. Thanks, everyone, for joining us with Coffee with Key this morning. We'll be back next Thursday, so get us on Facebook Live, and we'll see you on down the road. Everybody stay safe.
Yeah, last thing, I don't know if we said it more than once at the beginning, but Dave Silkin, DSG Distributors. Dave, website there or online presence to follow?
www.dsgdist.com.
Any dash or just DSG, DIST?
dsgdist.com. We wanted to make it easy.
Perfect.
Distributors.
Well, that's good. That's good in our industry. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.